Breaking cycles with healing household.
Hey loved ones, and welcome back to the Healing Household Show. I'm your host, Antiana Fuller, and I want to thank you for tuning in again to support our mission of breaking generational cycles, building first-generation pioneers, and bonding families together through exposure and experiences. This video marks episode 3.5 of our Intentional Black Parenting Program series, where I highlight a concern that kids face growing up in Black or minority households, and then walk parents through on how they can show up differently with intention. And when I say kids or children, I'm also talking about young adults and adult children who are still healing from the way they were raised. In our previous episode, we had an honest conversation about Black financial parenting styles and our unhealthy generational money habits. And y'all, if you have not seen it, please go check it out because you are in for a treat. Also, shout out to all our new family members who subscribed after watching. I am so happy to see you and I cannot wait to meet you more. This video is a follow-up from last week's video where I finally settled the debate around what should be financially expected from each other after 18. But before we get started, I always love to give a quick overview of our goals and my role for all the new faces out there. The question that sparked the start of this program series was the memes and videos around growing up Black on social media. And as I was laughing and relating to many of them, I thought to myself, wait a minute, if all of us live similar lives, is it possible that we all carry similar trauma? So I began brainstorming with God for a solution, and He revealed to me that there are 3 core things that are missing in many of our households: communication, connection, and changed behavior. So think of me as a mediator. I'm here to communicate the concerns that kids have, connect them back to their parents through explanation and empathy, and to change our unhealthy habits. I'm not here to shame, blame, or condemn. I'm here to raise awareness around problems plaguing our households and to support you in breaking the cycle together. In this video, we're going to break down what kids are and are not responsible for before and after 18, and what parents are and are not responsible for before and after 18. Then we'll wrap up with the solution that I came up with to help us break the cycle and build something better. And again, this is not a formal lesson. It's more of an honest conversation that we're continuing to have from last week. Now, I'm going to tell y'all in advance, I'm keeping it real, and some of y'all may not like how I feel. Many of you may not agree or be shocked, but this is just a disclaimer. This is my take on what I think is fair after researching, reading, and discerning, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, but be nice. As always, all resources and ways to donate to the house and to me personally can be found in the description box below. So grab your paper and pen because we're about to begin. Hey! First up, let's talk about what children are and are not responsible for before 18. So here are 5 practical and biblical expectations I found. Before 18, children are expected to 1, honor and obey. This means following rules, listening to instructions, and learning from parental wisdom. 2, children are expected to show manners and respect. This means being kind, well-mannered, and showing respect to parents, peers, leaders, and themselves. 3, children are expected to grow and learn. This looks like attending school, completing education requirements, and learning basic life skills like personal hygiene and time management. Number 4 is self-control and behavior. Children are responsible for managing their emotions appropriately and avoiding harm to themselves and others. And number 5 is contributing to the household in age-appropriate ways. So for the purpose of this video, we're going to focus in right here. Contributing typically looks like helping with age-appropriate tasks or chores, but we know as kids grow up, become teenagers, and get a job, it's also expected for them to begin contributing financially. And research agrees that it's beneficial for teens to contribute financially because it teaches them the value of money, how to save, how to prioritize spending, and understand budgeting. However, I believe that if they're contributing financially, it should be to cover their own personal expenses, not their parents' bills. And for the parents who don't agree because their kids stay in their house and use their lights and eat their food, I gently want to remind you that that is your job as a parent. The goal should be teaching money management and wise stewardship, not forcing the kids to grow up faster than they should. So to be clear, kids and teens should not be paying any major household bills before 18. They should not feel responsible for keeping the lights on, covering the rent, or saving the family, which happens way too much. Again, their personal expenses like their cell phone, gas, or car insurance to teach responsibility, I don't think will hurt. I'm specifically talking about placing bills and heavy financial burdens on children. It is wrong, financially abusive, and it reinforces a cycle we're trying to break. Working ourselves to the bone, watching every dollar disappear, and never getting the chance to build the stability or wealth our future deserves. They should never be pressured, manipulated, or expected to sustain the home. There is a difference. Contribution is healthy. Carrying the load is not. I really want to make sure y'all hear me. So to make sure that we are on the same page, here are 3 examples of what's inappropriate for a child to carry before 18. 1, requiring children to contribute more than they can afford financially and emotionally. 2, using children as a primary source of household income. No, not having it, y'all. Cut it out. Cut it out. Stop taking candy from a baby. And 3, putting pressure or guilt on them to financially fix family problems. All right, so what are children responsible for after 18? We about to get real, y'all. Are you ready? I believe their responsibility is to continue honoring their parents and to carry the lessons they were taught out into the world and to begin building a life of their own. But financially, after 18, kids are not responsible for anything unless or unfortunately. Let me explain. After 18, I don't think kids should be required to financially contribute to their parents unless under 2 conditions. First, unless they're living at home with their parents after 18. So let's check out a quick example of this from social media.
Man, I'm gonna try to get there around. Going somewhere? Huh? You going somewhere? Where you going? Let me call you back. Let me call you back. So you got a bag packed and stuff. Where you headed? Where you? Yeah, it's like we kind of started this little thing. Where we're gonna go on just a little vacation, man. That's it. You know, just trying to. A vacation. A vacation. How much you pay for it? I mean, it was about $160 a month. You know, but $160 a month. $160 a month, and you got a bag. So I assumed you paid for that too. How much was the bag? How much was the bag? You mean this one right here? No, that bag right there. How much was it? I mean, I paid a couple hundred, but I mean, couple hundred. A couple hundred. You ain't going on this trip. You ain't going. You ain't going. What you mean I ain't going? I paid for the trip. You got a whole lot more to pay for. You know, your priorities is in the wrong spot. You got your mind all in the clouds. You got your mind all in the sky. And your priority list is backwards.
Who has been there? Comment down below and let me know. This is just a funny way to say, if you're living with parents, be respectful, considerate, and pay on time. But parents should not charge unreasonably high amounts like their entire rent or mortgage amount, and kids should also not expect free rent. You are becoming an adult, and like my mama say, adults pay. If your parents don't charge you, amazing. But it's unfair to think living with your parents after 18 is a freebie, especially when many of them are struggling themselves. I want you to keep a few things in mind though. First, keep in mind that even though the rent cost may be low, living at home may cost you in other areas, such as your mental health. And I'm being real, right? It's hard to live and be around a space with cycles and mindsets that you're trying to break. But I share that to say, do what's best for you and make sure that you have your self-care measures in place. Second, I don't want you to waste the season. Living at home can be a powerful wealth building strategy if you're paying less than what you would be paying if you weren't living there and saving and investing the rest. Don't spend the extra trying to keep up with everyone right now. There is no great success without great sacrifice. Use this time to get ahead, not get lazy. And again, postgraduate burnout is real, so rest. But let this time refuel and rebuild you, not keep you stuck. Also, parents, your children living with you can help you too. I'll still encourage you like them though. Don't take the money that they're giving you and look at it as extra spending money. This is not money to spend, but to save. Say it with me. Both of y'all should be paying less in order to invest. You're helping each other right now prepare better for the future. The second exception is unfortunately. So kids should not be required to financially contribute to their parent unless they are living at home after 18, or unfortunately, if parents didn't prepare for old age and their children have no other choice but to become caregivers. First, I want to acknowledge that some of our parents weren't focused on the future because they were so focused on surviving day to day. Some weren't able to save a whole lot because of circumstances outside of their control, like unexpected life events or unforeseen health challenges that came sooner than expected. Others may not have had the financial tools or guidance to learn how to save, or even lost all their savings because they were taking care of other family members. However, there were parents who knew they were going to get old and willingly and consistently made choices that were not wise with their money. And because of that, their problems fell on their children. I want to be clear that caring for your parents or loved ones can and should include your time, your support, and your love. But financial responsibility is not yours by default. That belongs to the adults. Yet, we see this pattern over and over, and too often financial responsibility ends up falling on the shoulder of their kids and even their grandkids. The reality for many of us is that our parents or grandparents did not prepare financially for old age and now rely on Social Security as their primary source of income. This leaves many families having to either put their loved one in an under-resourced nursing home or fund their care with their own money and time. So when you really think about it, there's two generations, kids and grandkids, trying to scramble and support one generation that did not prepare well. It prevents them from being able to prepare well, which causes a cycle. Adult kids are struggling to build wealth because they're still trying to clean up after the generation before them, and that's just not sustainable. We've got to shift from surviving to stewarding, where each generation prepares the next, not drains it. So how can we do that? First, by simply understanding the numbers. Unpaid family caregivers average around $7,000 out of their own money on caregiving expenses annually. This number can be much higher when you factor in lost income from reduced work hours or leaving a job, which averages about $10,525 per year. For part-time professional care, it is about $40,000 to $50,000 per year. And for full-time professional care, it is approximately between $72,000 and $100,000 plus per year. And again, this is all depending on the provider, location, and specific needs. But it's expensive. right? So again, what happens when the parents didn't save anything and the kids aren't in a stable financial place to support them? They may solicit help from the grandkids, and then everyone is stressed and scrambling, trying to cover what they weren't prepared for because, again, previous generations did not prepare for it. Truth is, we will all grow old someday, including our parents. I know it's going to make me cry just thinking about it, but it's the truth. And the best thing to do is to get ahead of it. If you know your parents are not financially preparing for their own care in retirement, if you know the responsibility will likely fall on you, I know that it sucks, but I believe as cycle breakers, we have to start preparing for it. Yes, this means that we'll probably have to earn or sacrifice a little bit more than those around us. And yes, it can feel unfair because you're trying to make sure you're good and built for your children while also saving for your parents. And that's a lot. That's why we are breaking the cycle, because it's not an ideal situation and it's not sustainable. But I want you to think about it like this. You're not saving for your parents. You're saving yourself stress later. You're also saving your kids stress of having to spend their money or time taking care of their grandparents. I know that it sucks and I know that it's weighty, but just remember, you are making the weight less and the load easier for the generations coming after you. My financial advisor also suggested that we have a conversation with our parents now so that we're all on the same page later. Ask them if they're saving towards retirement and care. Ask them what are their plans for old age. Are they expecting to stay home, go to a nursing home, or move into your home? Are they paying for their care? Are they expecting you to pay for their care? Or are y'all going to meet in the middle somewhere? These are conversations that we can and should have now instead of waiting until we need to have them. Okay, so before we move forward into what parents are and are not responsible for before and after 18, I want to take a quick moment to speak to the children and grandchildren who are caregiving. If you are caregiving, I don't know if you've heard this lately, but I want to say thank you. I want you to know that you are seen and appreciated. Many of you are tending to parents who never tended to you in the way that you needed, and that takes tremendous strength. I know it's not easy, I know it can be frustrating, and I know it can be exhausting. I want to encourage you that in your moments of need, cry out and lay everything at the Lord's feet. Don't hold it in. I know that you're strong, but you don't have to be strong all the time. It is okay not to be okay. I just went through something yesterday where I just cried out to God and it was one of those moments, y'all. I released everything and I went to sleep. And when I woke up, y'all, I had renewed strength, I had energy, and I had peace. And I slept like a baby. Not only did he give me peace, but a peaceful slumber so that I could wake up with the strength that I needed to face the hard thing today. Woo! You cannot do this on your own. Let God recharge you. His yoke is easy, his burden is light, and he is big enough to take care of all of your cares. I also encourage you to let this experience be fuel to create a better plan for your own kids. Not only to start saving towards your own care, but to do your best not to involve them in your caregiving responsibilities so soon. I'm not saying you should never ask for help. You deserve support, and when family has capacity, that is what family is for. I'm just reminding you that too often we put our responsibilities on our children, forgetting that it's not theirs to carry. Somebody has to break the cycle, and I pray that that somebody is you. If you are a grandchild helping your grandparents, first, God bless you, and I pray that God honors you just as much as you are doing your best to honor your grandparents and your parents. But I also want to remind you of something that we talked about in our previous video. So many of us are used to saying yes and helping out our families whenever they need, but we need to learn how to say no and to put on our mask first so that we can build. If we are helping our grandparents and our parents and not preparing for our future or our kids, then who loses? Really think about it. Yes, God honors our service and our sacrifice, but He also calls us to be wise stewards of what He's entrusted to us. And that includes both our money and our time. Your family may not understand right now, but you have to be okay with being misunderstood by them. You even may have to be okay with being disliked by them. Help when you can, and don't feel guilty when you can't. You're not a bad person for not being a savior. That role belongs to God alone. Which reminds me of another previous video on making God the head CEO of our families. I shared how we all have roles to support the CEO's goals for our families. And everyone can't be so focused on the immediate that no one prepares for the future, or the organization is going to shut down. The key is to know your role and do your job so that the entire organization, i.e. family, flourishes. Again, I'm not saying not to help or support, especially when you have the time and capacity to. Families should support each other, okay? I'm saying if your role is to build, and because of that, you can't support your family in the way that they prefer right now, you're still supporting your family. Even if it doesn't look like support to them, it looks like support in the kingdom. So take comfort that God sees the bigger picture and honors the work that you are doing for generational impact. So in sum, after 18, kids are not financially responsible for anything unless they are still living at home with their parents, or if they are unfortunately left covering for a parent who did not plan ahead for old age. Now let's talk about what parents are responsible for before and after 18. Here are 5 practical and biblical expectations I found. Before 18, parents are responsible for 1, financially providing basic needs. This includes food, clothing, shelter, medical, safety, mental health support, all the things to ensure the child's survival and comfort. 2, education and preparation. This means parents are responsible for teaching life skills at home, as well as making sure the kids are going to school, helping them with their homework, and if they can't help them, getting them a tutor just to make sure the kids are thriving educationally. Number 3, safety and protection. This means parents are responsible for protecting their children from harm emotionally, physically, and online, especially in today's times. It also includes setting age-appropriate boundaries and rules to guide behavior, especially as they get older and begin to date. We want them to grow, but we also want to protect them from what they don't know because they're kids. We don't talk about this often, but parents are also responsible for number 4, emotional support. This means modeling healthy emotional regulation, showing love, attention, and encouragement, which is one of the goals of our Intentional Black Parenting Program series. And finally, number 5, parents are responsible for moral and social guidance. This looks like teaching right from wrong, respect for others no matter the color or difference, and grounding children in strong values and faith. So we know that parents are financially responsible before 18, but what about after 18? All right, y'all, here we go. The short answer is nothing. If and so. Let me explain. After 18, I don't think parents should be required to contribute financially, also under 2 conditions. If parents stewarded those years well and prepared their children to step into this next chapter with the tools that they needed to succeed. But if not, which is most common, here's the truth that goes beyond finances. The parenting that's missed in childhood often carries over into adulthood. Let me say that again. The parenting that's missed in childhood often carries over into adulthood. Let me be clear. Helping your kids after 18 is not a financial duty, but it becomes a financial reality. In other words, you aren't technically financially responsible after 18, but parenting doesn't always stop at 18 when children didn't receive the guidance that they needed beforehand. Please know this is not about blaming parents for the choices of their adult kids. We all know adults who were raised well and still made different choices. I'm not sharing this to shame, but to highlight the importance of preparing and equipping your kids so that they can step into adulthood successfully. The problem I've seen is that there's this harsh cutoff age where at 18 or even earlier, if they become a teenage parent, they suddenly have to pay for everything without knowing anything but to work and pay bills. So instead of being set up to succeed inside, they are being set up to fail outside. Again, it's so important that you do what you can to set them up for parental and financial responsibility before they leave your house, or don't be surprised when they come back to your house looking to be parented. And we talked about this earlier. While they should be contributing financially if they're living with you, most times it just feels like raising them all over again. So do your best to set them up from the start, because without the guidance they needed growing up, it shouldn't, but often ends up falling right back on you. The second exception is so. After 18, parents have no financial responsibility if they set their children up prior, and so they can prepare for old age and retirement. Unfortunately, what I see too often is parents are helping their kids well into their 50s and 60s and 70s, and in the process, they neglect to save and plan for themselves. Instead of prioritizing their future, they're saving their kids who aren't building a future of their own. So you see how the cycle's at work? I don't know if you're picking up on the common theme here, but it's simple. If we all focus on ourselves with a lens towards generational growth, everyone benefits in the end. After 18, if kids focus on their future without having to reach back and help their parents or grandparents, and if parents focus on their future without having to reach back and help their kids, it creates a ripple effect of stability and generational flourishing. And again, I'm not saying that parents and children can't help, give, or support each other. I'm saying that after 18, there is no financial requirement. It is a choice and a gift that both parties should be grateful for. So we know that our kids are taking on financial responsibilities before 18, and we also know that they aren't financially prepared to enter the world at 18. So what's a good solution for our families? I'm calling this the phase out plan. So first up, before 18, let kids be kids. Let them laugh, let them play. I don't know if y'all realize this, but childhood is the shortest part of our lives. The majority of our time on earth is spent as an adult. So don't rush them, but prepare them. Teach them the importance of budgeting and saving and investing. And y'all, them not teaching it in school or you not knowing about it yourself is not an excuse. There's books and videos and documentaries and nonprofits and resources and events out here. So take advantage and use them as a bonding opportunity to learn financial literacy together as a family. Then after 18, gradually reduce support. Don't just say you're 18, figure it out, you're on your own, hit them with a rental agreement. Don't do that. Don't do that. Give them time to adjust to the newness of being on their own, right? This is why it's called a phase out, because it's gradual. And gradual means there is an end, right? But it's not a harsh end. It's an expected end. Y'all hold up. The Lord is speaking. Jeremiah 29:11, for I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future, an expected end. There's someone watching who was cut off by their parent too soon, and they feel alone. And God said, they may have cut you off, but He did not cut you off. You are still His, and He still has a great plan for you. So invite Him in, because this is not the end. Whoa. Okay, God, I just had to say that. It's a song that we used to sing back in the day. Expect the great. Expect the great. Somebody need to go listen to that right now. Expect the great. Expect the great. So I know some of y'all are like, okay, I'm feeling this phase out plan. I like the gradual, but still, when is the cutoff? Like, when does the gradual end? When does it stop? Practically, I will probably say between the window of 18 and 25, but honestly, it's largely up to you whenever you finish preparing them. You want to guide them and help lead them in a healthy way, but you don't want to rob them of the opportunity to grow or keep them on the leash too long either. We don't want to raise dependent adults, right? But we also don't want to abandon kids into a world they weren't equipped for. Practically, parents, this is something that you can do during the phase out. Every year up until 18, you buy your kids back to school supplies, clothes, and shoes. You gave them money for field trips, senior trips, prom, vending machine snacks, money to hang out with their friends, money for the extracurricular activities, and more. I know it was way more expensive, but just for simplicity, let's just say that was $1,000 that you pay every year. Instead of looking at it as extra money after they graduate, look at it as money you already know has to go somewhere. Since you're already in the habit of paying it, take that money and start paying down your debt or preparing for your retirement. Open a high-yield savings account or an investment account and start putting your money in there again so that you can begin to prepare. Maybe you didn't have the means to before 18 because you were doing it by yourself and you just needed all the money that you had to go towards the care of your child. But it's not too late. You can start today. And I know you're probably thinking, girl, I done raised these kids for 18 years. I want to treat myself. I'm not saying that you can't treat yourself or still support your kids. I'm saying that your priority right now should shift from taking care of them to taking care of you for them. Practically for kids, this looks like phasing out of the mindset that your parents are always supposed to support you financially. And again, in our previous episode, I talked about my personal mindset shift from why aren't my parents helping me to, okay, what decision can I make right now so that I am not dependent on them? It shifts you from a helpless mindset to a go-getter mindset. I want you to ask yourself the same question. And instead of asking, why me, ask yourself, what now? And then fight for your future with faith. This is especially important after 18 because if we're still depending on our parents to take care of us financially, remember, this is something that they were required to do before 18 when we were a child. So if we're still thinking like this, we're still thinking like a child. In 1 Corinthians 13:11, it says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. And this includes our mindset. Eventually, we have to get up and grow up. So go out and live a life not dependent on your parents, but dependent on the Lord. So in sum, after 18, kids are not financially responsible for anything unless they're still living at home with their parents or unfortunately, if their parent did not plan ahead for old age. And parents are also not financially responsible for anything if they prepared their kids beforehand and so they can prepare for the future. And as a solution, parents should implement a phase-out plan that helps everyone manage expectations and as a whole commit to financial literacy and focus as a family. For more tools, please be sure to check out our previous video, y'all, where I go into more detail and share specific action steps on how we can break our unhealthy financial patterns. Now I want to hear from you. What's your take on this debate? Do you agree or disagree? Do you have another solution? Let me know in the comments below. Loved ones, I cannot believe we are halfway through the series. We have 7 concerns to cover. So in our next episode, we are going to cover the 4th concern children have, and it's all about Black parent punishment and discipline strategies. Do our parents punish too harshly? We are going to answer the question, talk about how it impacts our kids, why our parents may have used those methods, and as always, real solutions on how to break the cycle. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a thing. All right, loved ones, it's time to go. I hope you learned and enjoyed the show. Like, subscribe, and comment below, and we got Cash App if you led to sow. Stay tuned for what's up next to sow. Videos to help you learn and grow. Thank you to all my sisters and bros. I love you and God loves you even more. I love y'all. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Oh, say so.